They said cities don't die, but on the night of October 12, 1986, one city proved them wrong. It began with a sound no human should ever hear, absolute silence. Not the peaceful kind, not the one you find in empty hallways or abandoned buildings. This silence was wrong. Heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. At exactly 2:14 a.m., the city of Eerie, home to 112,000 people, simply stopped. Streetlights that once flickered under the weight of late-night traffic froze in their glow. Cars halted in the middle of the road, engines still running, radios still humming static. A half-written neon sign continued buzzing above a diner. Steam from the sewers drifted into the cold sky as if nothing were unusual. But inside the homes, inside the towers, inside the narrow alleyways and empty train stations, there were no people, not dead, not alive, not vanished, just gone. Every door was left unlocked, every meal sat unfinished, every bed still warm. Baby cribs swayed as if moved by a hand that no longer existed. The first person to discover the silence was a truck driver named Miles Hanford. He was passing through Eerie on a routine delivery, expecting the usual chaos of nightlife. Instead, he found an unmoving world. Miles stepped out of his truck, calling out into the hollow streets. "Hello, anybody here?" His voice echoed back at him like a reply from a cave. There were no footsteps, no wind, no animals, nothing. A coffee shop stood open, fresh steam still rising from cups placed on tables. A chair lay tilted backward, frozen in the moment someone stood too fast. Miles tried calling for help, but every phone line was dead, every radio channel silent, and the power grid showed no faults. Everything worked, except the people. He drove to the nearest police station, only to find lights on, paperwork scattered, a half-poured cup of coffee on the counter, and no officers. On a desk was the final written log entry. To 13 a.m., reports of strange humming. East District complaining of vibrations. Sending units. There was no follow-up, no report of what they found, no final communication. When Miles reached the city center, he saw something that nearly made him collapse. A massive shadow imprinted on the pavement. A human-shaped outline, perfectly burned into the ground, arms thrown outward as if in terror. No fire. No blast radius. Just the silhouette, like someone had been erased in an instant. Miles ran, but as he fled the city limits, he realized something worse. His truck radio had started picking up a repeating message on every frequency. A woman whispering, don't sleep, don't let it touch you." Miles didn't stop driving until the city lights were nothing but a ghost behind him. By sunrise, the government blocked the entire region. Eerie had officially become Zone Black, population missing. If the disappearance itself was terrifying, what came after was worse. By the next morning, Eerie City was sealed off under an emergency protocol. The public had never heard of Black Protocol. Level 9, something reserved for environmental anomalies, though no one ever explained what that meant. Military convoys surrounded the city like a steel ring. Hazmat teams moved in, carrying equipment that didn't look like it belonged to any known science. Tall tripod devices were planted along the perimeter, machines that emitted a low-frequency hum, like they were containing something, not studying it. And at the heart of the operation was a temporary command post filled with screens, monitors, and radios. Those radios were the reason everything escalated. The first strange signal was picked up at 10:05 a.m., exactly 7 hours after the city went silent. A young communications officer, Lieutenant Kara Owens, was scanning through dead channels when a faint pulse slipped through the static. Not a voice, not a message, a rhythm. For beats, pause, for beats again. Then a long, dragging hum. At first, she thought it was interference, but then the pulse changed. It began to sync with the vibrations of the floor, the metal desks, even the breath inside their chests. It felt like the entire command center was being tuned to something. Kara leaned closer to the speaker. She swore she heard a faint whisper inside the hum. Not words, not language, but something alive. A sound like a breath exhaled too close to her ear. She flinched back and immediately called it in. General Warren Briggs, the man overseeing Black Protocol, entered the station within minutes. He listened to the hum with a face carved from stone. No blink, no reaction. Then he uttered a sentence that froze everyone listening. "Shut it down. That frequency doesn't belong to us." But before they could cut the signal, the transmission changed again. This time, it spoke. Not in English, not in any human tongue. A low, layered voice like multiple throats speaking at once repeated the same sound over and over. Dunka, Dunka, Dunka. The linguists couldn't match it to any known phonetic family. It wasn't a call for help. It wasn't a chant. It was a summoning rhythm, like something knocking from deep underground. Suddenly, all the radios in the command station burst to life at once, even the ones switched off. Every single radio repeated the same message, a woman's whisper, the same one Miles heard fleeing the city. "Stay awake. Don't let it touch you. Don't let it touch." The voice cut off with a sharp static crack. Then, the pulse returned. Slow, heavy, rhythmic. Kara's heartbeat matched it involuntarily. So did the generals. So did every soldier in that room. It was sensing them, pulling them into its pattern. General Briggs yelled for the breakers to be pulled, but before power could be cut, all screens in the station flickered on with a single image, a bird's eye view of Aramore taken from a satellite feed. Only now, in the very center of the city, lay a vast, shifting circle of darkness. Not a shadow, not smoke. Something that moved on its own, like a giant pupil dilating, a living void. The signal dropped instantly, silence returned, and General Briggs whispered the words everyone feared the moment he saw it. "We're not dealing with a disappearance, we're dealing with an intrusion." The village clock tower struck 5:47 a.m., the time when the first rays of dawn were supposed to spill across the narrow streets of Avellini City. But on this day, on the morning after the city went to sleep and never woke up, the sky stayed a strange, bruised shade of gray. No sunrise. No birds. No hiss of passing buses. Only a silence so thick it felt like the world was holding its breath. Detective Ronan Hale, the first outsider to arrive, stepped out of his jeep and instantly felt something was wrong. Not just unusual, but deeply, unnaturally wrong. The air felt heavy, dense, as if sound itself couldn't travel freely. He called out, "Hello? Anyone here?" His voice echoed back, warped slightly, like it had passed through water. Every house door was unlocked, every light left on, coffee machines still warm, TV screens frozen mid-broadcast, breakfast plates half-served. It looked like the entire city had paused reality at the exact same second. But the beds were empty. 60,000 people, gone, not a single sign of forced entry. No broken windows, no blood, no struggle, just absence. Ronan entered a small apartment near the city square. A cereal bowl still sat on the counter, flakes floating in milk that hadn't yet gone stale. A child's cartoon was still playing on a tablet screen, but the child was nowhere. He radioed headquarters. "There's nobody here. Not a single body, not a single footprint. It's like the whole city just evaporated." Headquarters didn't believe him at first, but then he found the first clue, something so strange, so impossible, that even he wondered if he was losing his grip on reality. Inside one apartment, drawn on a fogged bathroom mirror, were the words, "We didn't wake up," finger-drawn, fresh as if written after the disappearance. Ronan froze. How could someone write this if the city was already deserted? His heartbeat thundered. Something wasn't adding up. Something was watching. He stepped out onto the main boulevard, and that's when he saw them. Shadows, hundreds of them. They were perfect outlines of people cast on sidewalks, benches, walls, but there were no people to create those shadows. It was as if the citizens were standing there, frozen in place, except they were gone. Ronan knelt next to one particular shadow, a small girl holding what looked like a teddy bear. The outline was crisp, detailed, like a moment captured in time. But then, a cold wind swept through the street, and the shadow moved, just slightly, barely. But it shifted. Ronan stumbled backward, terrified. Shadows don't move without people. Shadows don't turn. Shadows definitely don't look back at you. He whispered, "What happened here?" And for the first time since he arrived, he realized something chilling. This city wasn't empty. It was watching. Ronan forced himself to keep moving. Fear was crawling up his spine. But curiosity and duty pushed him deeper into the silent city. Every street felt like a photograph that might suddenly come to life, every alley whispered. Every shadow felt aware. He reached Central Park, a place once full of families, joggers, and kids kicking footballs. Now it was a graveyard of abandoned moments. A stroller lay tipped over on its side. A picnic blanket was still spread out, food untouched. A radio near a bench crackled softly, stuck between stations. But the strangest thing was the trees. Their branches all leaned in one direction as if blown by a massive gust of wind. But the grass below them wasn't disturbed. Not a leaf had fallen. Everything looked perfectly frozen. Ronan approached a large oak, and that's when he noticed it. A long, black mark carved into the trunk. A symbol, circular, spiraled, almost hypnotic. He touched it, and the city exhaled. A deep, low vibration rumbled under his feet. It didn't feel like an earthquake. It felt like something alive shifting in its sleep. Ronan staggered back, heart racing. What the hell was that? The radio on the bench suddenly snapped into clarity. A voice distorted, glitching, forced its way through the static. Wake up. Wake up. Wakoop wakoop wak. Then silence. Ronan's breath hitched. This wasn't a normal disappearance. This was something connected to consciousness itself, sleep, dreams, something older, deeper. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a recorder. Day 1, 9:23 a.m. Something is happening beneath this city. I don't know if it's natural or... He stopped because a figure was standing at the far end of the park. A human shape, a woman, still, perfectly still. Hello, Ronan called out. No response. He took a step forward, then another. The figure didn't move. As he got closer, he realized she wasn't fully solid. She flickered like a projection, glitching, her edges dissolving into smoke. Her head slowly tilted. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Instead, a whisper hissed directly behind Ronan. He spun around. No one there. When he turned back, the woman was gone. Only her shadow remained on the grass, and the shadow was still facing him. Ronan backed away. He needed answers, fast. He headed toward the city archives building, a massive stone structure with tall glass doors. The place where every birth certificate, every crime report, every blueprint was kept. If there was a secret about this city, it would be here. He pushed open the door. It creaked like something old and tired. Inside, the lights flickered. Papers were scattered everywhere, as if someone or something had gone through them in a hurry. And then Ronan noticed one file on a wooden table, opened as if waiting for him. The title chilled him to the bone. Project Somnus, Restricted Access, Citywide Dream Mapping. Initiative, he whispered. Dream mapping. What were they doing here? And as he reached for the folder, the glass door behind him slowly began to close on its own. Not by wind, not by accident. As if the city had finally realized someone was snooping, and it didn't like that. Ronan slid the file closer, hands shaking not from fear, but from the weight of knowing he was crossing a line he couldn't come back from. The cover alone felt radioactive. Government-level classification, unauthorized use punishable by imprisonment. He opened it. The first page was a mission statement. Project Somnus, a neuroscientific initiative designed to synchronize communal consciousness for improved urban harmony. Ronan frowned. Communal consciousness, urban harmony? This sounded like a PR slogan, written by a mad scientist. He flipped to the next sheet. Photographs, electrodes strapped to volunteers, people sleeping inside transparent pods, a massive circular device under construction. Labeled, the Somnus Engine Sublevel 7. Below the caption were 3 words handwritten in red ink. Never turn on. Ronan's pulse quickened. What the hell were they building? The next document was a transcript. It chilled him instantly. Somnus Test Log, Day 40 to Lead Researcher, DRH. Cal 1 Subject, Group C 108 Volunteers 0 o'clock. Engine powered at 22%. 0:05, subjects enter REM simultaneously. 0:09, all subjects begin speaking identical phrases. 0:15, subjects report seeing a city that breathes. 0:17, unidentified him detected. 0:18, subjects show severe neurological distress. 0:19, contagion risk, HIGH emergency shutdown initiated. Note, volunteers are unresponsive. Brain activity registering negative patterns. Recommendation, terminate Project Somnus immediately. Ronan's breath caught. Negative patterns, unresponsive volunteers, a breathing city. This wasn't science. This was possession disguised as research. A faint creak echoed behind him. He froze. Something was moving in the archive building, slow, dragging footsteps. Ronan stepped back from the table, eyes scanning the aisle. Between towering bookshelves, a dark silhouette appeared, not walking, swaying, as if pulled by invisible strings. Ronan whispered, "Not again." He grabbed the file and ducked behind the front desk. The footsteps grew louder, dragging. Then they stopped. Ronan peeked round the corner. The figure stood only a few feet away. But this one wasn't flickering like the woman in the park. This figure was solid, human, a man, tall, thin. Skin pale like wax, eyes wide open, but clouded like someone staring from far, far inside their own mind. Ronan whispered, "Hey, can you hear me?" The man's jaw cracked open, painfully slow, no sound. Then his mouth moved again, but the voice came from the speaker system above Ronan's head. A glitching, metallic version of the man's words. "Go back." Ronan's blood ran cold. The man turned unnaturally, joints bending with delayed, puppet-like motion. He walked away, disappearing into the shelves. The lights flickered hard. A siren blared. Red emergency text flashed on a nearby terminal. Consciousness breach. Level 1 archive lockdown. Activated. Please remain still. Ronan grabbed the file and ran. He barely reached the front doors before they slammed shut behind him. Like the city wanted to trap the truth inside forever. But he had the file. And now he knew. The city didn't fall asleep by accident. Someone put it to sleep. And something else, something not human, woke up instead. By the time Ronan reached his apartment, breath ragged, hands trembling, shirt damp with sweat, the city outside felt different. Too still, too quiet, as if the streets were holding their breath. He locked the door, closed the curtains, and dumped the classified file onto his desk. His laptop chimed with a notification. New audio file received, unknown sender. Ronan hesitated. Another message, another risk. He clicked play. A wave of static hissed through the speakers, followed by a dull, rhythmic thumping, like a heartbeat, but not human, too deep, too slow. Then came a voice, weak, trembling, desperate. "If anyone hears this, stop the broadcast. Don't let them activate it again. The city is dreaming, but it's not our dream anymore." Ronan recognized the voice instantly. Dr. H. Calwin, the lead scientist. The woman who disappeared 6 days before the city fell into its impossible sleep. Static swallowed her words. Then the heartbeat-like thumping returned, closer now, louder, pulsing through the speakers like something was crawling inside the audio itself. Then Calwin's voice came back, but this time she was whispering. The soundless engine didn't connect minds. It opened them. Ronan's skin prickled. Once they synchronized, the boundary broke. Memory, thought, identity, all merged into something else. A metallic slam echoed in the background. Calwin gasped, "I'm not alone." They walk now, empty, but not dead. The dream uses them to move. "I don't know how long I have." Silence. Then a second voice faded in, distorted, layered, echoing like multiple people were speaking through one throat. "The city must not wake." Ronan slammed the laptop shut. The apartment lights flickered. A cold draft swept through the room. Though every window was shut, he wasn't imagining it. There was breathing, soft, raspy, coming from the hallway outside his apartment door. Ronan stepped back. The breathing grew louder. He checked the peephole. Nothing. He leaned closer. Something moved. A face slid into view, a pale, slack-jawed, unfocused face, inches from the peephole, staring directly at him. But the eyes were wrong, not just lifeless, watching from the inside, like someone else was staring out through borrowed skin. Ronan stumbled back, heart hammering. Then, knock. Not a normal knock. Slow, deliberate, rhythmic, as if matching that same inhuman heartbeat from Calwin's recording. Ronan whispered, "No, no, no, no." Another knock, then another. He grabbed his bag, stuffed the soundless file inside, and climbed out the window onto the fire. Escape. His shoes scraped metal. The knocking stopped instantly, replaced by heavy footsteps rushing toward his door. Ronan climbed down to floors before he heard it, his door creaking open. Something stepping inside, listening, searching. He froze. Through the gap in his window, he saw his living room lights flicker on, and a tall shadow move past his couch, neck snapping unnaturally as it scanned the room. It knew he had the file. It knew he was still alive, and whatever controlled that hollow-faced thing wanted him next. Ronan hit the ground behind the apartment building, landing in a crouch, lungs burning. He didn't dare look back, not yet. Every instinct screamed that if he turned around, he would see something he wasn't meant to survive. He crossed the alley, stuck to the shadows, and didn't stop until he reached an abandoned subway entrance sealed off decades ago. The metal bars were rusted, the sign half broken. Sub-level access, restricted. For anyone else, this was a dead end. But Ronan had spent years digging into forbidden corners of the city's history. He knew the truth. Beneath the streets, beneath the sewers, beneath the foundations, was the original Somnus research facility. And if he wanted answers, real answers, the only way out was down. He slipped through a gap in the rusted bars, landing on cold stone steps that swallowed sound whole. Even the air felt heavier, like the city itself was holding its breath. The deeper he descended, the more wrong everything felt. No rats, no dripping water, no echoes except his own heartbeat. At the bottom, he found a long concrete corridor lined with old emergency lights. Some were cracked, some flickered, others glowed with a sick, pulsating dimness, as if powered by something other than electricity. Ronan whispered, "What did they build down here?" He followed the corridor until he reached a massive door made of reinforced steel. Behind it, he heard something, a low, vibrating hum, not mechanical, not natural, alive, the Somnus engine. He pushed the door open. The chamber was enormous, bigger than any mapping record claimed. At the center stood a colossal circular machine, suspended by thick metal arms, its core glowing faint white, but the glow was wrong. Cold, organic, like moonlight trapped in a heartbeat. As Ronan stepped inside, screens flickered on around the room, showing images of the city from the night it fell asleep. People collapsed on sidewalks, cars drifting slowly into each other, birds dropping from the sky, children slumping over mid-play. But their eyes, all open, all staring at something only they could see. Ronan forced himself to look at the next feed. Every sleeping person twitched simultaneously. Then, their fingers curled, then their heads tilted, every single one of them, perfectly synchronized. A recorded voice broke through the speakers. Dream State Collective reached 342,091 subjects. Boundary breach imminent. Ronan's stomach dropped. They didn't just fall asleep. They were pulled under. Something touched the back of his neck. He spun around, but there was no one there, only the cold wind from the machine's steady pulse. Then he saw it. A shape inside the glowing core, a silhouette. Not human, no clear arms, no face, just a tall, spiraled mass, almost like a figure made of stretched shadows pressing against the inside of the engine's barrier, like it was trying to step out. Ronan stumbled back, but a voice echoed behind him, "You shouldn't be here." He turned. Dr. Calvin stood in the doorway, but not the way he remembered. Her face was pale, her expression frozen somewhere between terror and surrender, and her shadow didn't match her body. It stretched toward the machine, reaching for it. She whispered again, but this time her voice layered with that same deep, impossible hum. "It's dreaming through them." Ronan froze. Calvin raised a trembling hand toward the machine, and now it wants to wake up. The chamber trembled, not violently, but subtly, like the ground was inhaling. Every light flickered with the rhythm of a massive, slow heartbeat. Ronan stepped back from the Somnus engine. As the silhouette inside pressed harder against the inner barrier, its form rippling like liquid shadow, Dr. Calvin staggered toward him, each step stiff, broken, as if someone else was learning how to move her body. "Ronan," she whispered, "you need to listen very carefully." Her voice split to tones speaking at once. One human, one impossibly deep. "You think the city fell asleep," she said. It didn't. She turned her head slowly to the screens, showing the sleeping citizens. They were chosen. Ronan's chest tightened. Chosen for what? To become the vessel. The hum grew louder. The machine's glow intensified. And the silhouette inside grew taller. Calvin grabbed Ronan's shoulder with unnatural strength, her fingers digging deep into his skin. We tried to connect dreams, one mind guiding another, but we reached something older, something that waits between consciousness and death. Ronan pulled back. What is it? Calvin's eyes rolled upward as if something inside her was looking through them, not out of them. It doesn't have a name. It doesn't want one. Names give shape. It wants, her voice glitched, to remain infinite. The machine hissed. A crack appeared in the barrier around the core hairline, thin, glowing, like bones splitting. Ronan felt the heat rising. No alarms, no shutdown protocols. The system wasn't failing, it was opening. He ran to the nearest console and slammed his hands on the manual override. Access denied. No sleep cycle active. Nitrogen monoxide waking cycle active. Then one message flashed. The city is not asleep. Ronan's heart stopped. The screens changed, abruptly showing live feeds across the city. All 300,000 plus sleeping citizens were sitting up in perfect synchronization. Heads turning, faces blank, eyes open. Every single one of them staring in the exact direction of the underground facility. Calvin's voice cracked. It's using them to anchor itself. They're not asleep, they're awake in its dream. A second crack snapped across the engines. Barrier, the silhouette inside shuddered, unfolding like a creature stretching after centuries of captivity. Ronan yelled over the rising hum. How do we stop it? Calvin's face twisted anguish or resistance. He couldn't tell. You can't kill a dream, Ronan, but you can starve it. She pointed at the main power lines feeding the Somnus engine. Cut the connection. Sever the dream. Collapse the bridge. Ronan sprinted to the power conduit panel, tearing it open. A thick bundle of cables pulsed with white light, alive with impossible energy. Only one option. Rip them out. He wrapped his hands around the core cable, and the machine screamed. Not metal, not mechanical, a living scream. The entire chamber shook violently. Calvin collapsed, clutching her head as the silhouette in the core thrashed. Ronan pulled. The cable burned his palms, his vision blurred. The hum rose to a deafening pitch, then, snap, the lights exploded. The screens went dark. The silhouette inside the engine dissolved like smoke in reverse, sucked violently back into whatever nightmare realm it came from. Silence. Ronan fell to his knees, choking on the dust and smoke. Calvin lay unconscious, but breathing. The city above. He didn't know if they'd wake. He didn't know if they were free. He didn't know what his own mind would become after witnessing this. But he knew one thing. For the first time since that impossible night, the city stopped dreaming, and something ancient, hungry, and waiting went back to sleep.